Aloha Magdalini. Thank you so much for coming on to Love What with Audrey Weilai, where we ask people about what love means to them. Where are you dialing in from?
I'm Donnie from Patras, Greece. I feel
Do you,
very excited to be
yeah,
here and
that's
interviewed by you.
fantastic. Thank you. I've known you for a few years now because we practice nonviolent communication together, and I'm really grateful for our friendship.
So am I. I feel very safe, emotionally safe with you. I can share
Mm,
things, and you being my empathy partner, you know
mm,
your nonviolent communication quite well.
thank you. Could you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Magdalini Agrafioti, like as in graffiti. It's similar, the same root. It has to do with writing.
Yes,
My ancestors 4 generations ago came from a mountain. They came down to the valley. I mean, it's not recorded.
I
Any conquerors couldn't go up there, so they were free. Freedom is in my family background. My work is that of being a family therapist and a psychotherapist. I've been doing
sure.
that all my career. As a child, I wanted to travel. When I was able, I went first to Holland to the Institute of Social Studies, and I studied there national development and international communications, where I met people from all over the world, and that was my first exposure away from the country. To then I went to Canada. For many years, I worked at the Toronto Board of Education Student Services Department. I came back to Greece after many years and I started practice. At the time, my parents were still living, so it was good to be
Mm,
with them. And I'm still here. Changed cities from Athens to Patras, which is a smaller city,
sure.
and I enjoyed it very much. Yeah, I like because I have better social life here.
And how was it for you to live in Canada? Is that where you got educated and certified as a family therapist?
Yes, I lived and worked there, and I was very lucky. I really loved Toronto. At the same time, I was getting my degree in Adlerian psychology. The professors were flying from Chicago to Toronto, and Adlerian psychology was great because it spoke to my heart. The essence of it is mutual respect helps mental health. And family therapy, I studied in Toronto at the St. George Center for Children and Families.
Mm.
I'm very grateful for what Canada offered to me.
I'm curious, what was it like to move to Canada? And also, what was it like for you to move back to Greece all those years later?
It was actually it was an emotional decision to go back to Greece because I was leaving a
Mm,
very secure and well-paid job, and I
sure.
want to be. My parents were getting older. At the time, private practice was okay, it was flourishing in Greece, so I could do it. It was not easy, but it was my decision, and I never regret it.
You wanted to spend more time with your aging parents and get to know them a
Yes,
little better.
yes, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that I did because my mother died about 8 months later.
I'm really sorry to hear. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, well,
Mm.
it was good that I had seen her while she was still healthy.
As I'm getting older, I'm realizing how important family and friends are to me, as well as health. I'm really happy
Family
that
is
you were
good.
able to spend time with your parents.
So my
I'm curious, what does love mean to you?
love, is, by the way, was not something we talked about while I was growing up.
I find that to be so interesting. I've done a few interviews or conversations with my friends already for this podcast. It turns out most of them didn't talk about it growing up.
We were learning about love at the church. We were supposed to go to church. So experienced, although religion, Christianity advocated love, I experienced
Mm,
this as a should, as an obligation. But
yeah,
my family experienced a lot of stability and caring. They did show
okay,
caring. They were
sure.
not. tender. They didn't hug us. They didn't touch very much, but they were there for us. And so that's how I experienced love as a child. I pass it on. I express love by caring. Although as I evolved, I also showed love in other ways. Also, to me, means respect.
Okay,
You can't have love without respect.
sure. Can you give me some examples where you express love and other examples where it shows how you feel loved? Because I'm learning that everyone not only has different definitions of love and care or respect, they also have different ways of expressing and receiving them.
I experienced love, giving love, when my nephews and nieces were growing up. My
Okay.
heart opened. We played
Mm,
together.
okay.
um, so that I could have fun with them. I entered their own world. Now, when I'm around children, my heart opens. So that's how I experience love, and also validating people, making sure that I'm there for them. I learned not to criticize because I used to criticize a lot. I picked it up from my family. And I realize now the intention was good. I want them to improve, but that's not a good strategy. That could, so I'm more
Hmm.
present now. I like to contribute to other people's well being. I really like that. That's how I
Yeah.
experience giving love,
Okay.
and how self love is working on my self critic, which is a very strong presence.
And who
So,
is this self-critic? What does she
in
do
me,
or what does she say?
oh, she says, you haven't done enough.
So you're really hard on yourself.
What you've written is not good enough. And I realize it's a good intention behind it, because my inner critic wants quality, but that doesn't help very much. Yes. I am less strict on myself now. I learned through psychotherapy and nonviolent communication to be more appreciative of myself. I show my love by reminding myself what I've done. Also, just being alive.
That sounds really beautiful. I recently heard a friend say that love is being present and just being life itself. It's very similar to what you're saying.
Also having tender feelings towards others and myself. We have the word in Greek is agapi. Its etymology has to do with I lead.
I see.
Never connected. I never connected these two
Hmm.
concepts, but it's fun. It's interesting. The etymology of it has to do with leading. I don't know how and why, but it's there.
You mentioned earlier about playing with your nephews. How important is it to incorporate play into our daily life for children and also adults?
I think for children, it's their own existence. Like play is existence for children. I work with parents who say, "Oh, you shouldn't play. You should study your schoolwork." I
Oh,
can see their good intention, that they want progress. In my way, I help them gently realize that play is their life. For adults, it's a different way. Here in Greece, a lot of elder people, if they give them a chance to dance, they really
yeah,
enjoy themselves. I cannot connect with that anymore. When I was during my youth, I danced for hours and hours.
I see.
So that was my play, or going out in nature.
Yeah.
And I admire these elder people, how easily they get in touch with their playful self, and they really enjoy dancing in their 80s. I have different ways of playing now. It's being with my friends, just relaxing. The beach is not too far from here, just 500 meters. I really am very lucky to enjoy the playful waves. And that's my play. Having coffee with my friends is play for me.
One of my favorite things when I was in Hawaii was, of course, going to the beach almost every day. And sometimes I admire the playfulness of the waves, and other time I realize it looks pretty messy, but I don't criticize the wave. I
No,
appreciate the
no.
beauty in its own messy, irregular form. And why can't I love myself in that way? Because I'm perfect in my imperfection.
Yes, I will never be perfect in loving myself, and I have accepted that.
It's ongoing progress.
Yes. When I was in Toronto, I belonged to a group called Circle of Hope. It was
Okay.
Dr. Larry Nussbaum. He was helping us with increasing our intuition. And at the time, I had very serious financial problems. I asked my intuitive part to give me an answer. And the first time I got was playful waves. And I said, thanks a lot. Big help. I did again once more, and I was getting an anthropomorphic sun
Sure.
smiling at me.
I see.
So I said, yeah, that's a big help. I want an answer. How can I pay my rent, kind of
What
thing.
does this mean?
Yes, and now I feel more secure. I'm at my home in Greece. I don't have the anxiety that I used to have there. Now I can listen better. So I guess the calmer we are, the more able we are to listen to ourselves.
I'm going to change subject a little bit because I remember you saying that you're working on another book. Could you tell me what books you've written and what book you're currently working on?
Yeah, I've written two books. They're Greek to you, by the way. They're both in Greek. The first one was on effective studying and in a creative way. I had seminars with students. I showed them how they can map out
Yeah.
according to the right brain situation and how to use memory ways and so forth. And I incorporated their work in the book, and so
Mm,
that did well
yeah.
for students, and because they really appreciated. The second one it's translated into learning with the mind and the heart. And it's
Okay.
meant for primarily for teachers, although parents can read it.
Yeah.
It shows a lot of both the framework and the activities of
Mm,
your student, how they can use dynamics in the classroom.
yeah.
I had a group of teachers.
Yeah.
So the book is after I had the seminars, and I wrote it together with teachers.
Mm,
Talks about emotional safety in the classroom. If you want to build emotional safety in the classroom, this is what you do.
yeah.
That was very exciting. Right now, I'm writing another book for teachers again. Of course, it's the after COVID era.
Okay.
Yes, but I also listen to their stories because I'm an outsider. I'm not part of the
Yeah.
school systems. I need to know what their reality is. And I listen to their dilemmas and then I said, listen, here's what I can contribute. We got to change our ways. It's a challenge. We've
Mm,
got to change our ways and give, of course, the students have voice, but we have to include the voice of the students. They cannot be passive learners.
sure.
And so this is what I'm doing now.
Can you
And
say
I'm also
more of,
writing.
yeah,
Yes,
when you
go ahead.
say we need to change our ways, what do you mean by that? Is that the reforming the educational system?
No, I cannot reform the education system.
So what do you mean by we need to change our ways?
Actually, the Ministry of Education is quite updated. They use the technology a lot. They use the change. They give a sort of they give the skills. They offer
Mm,
skills. They have tons of resources.
yeah.
But the teachers need a more personal way of approach. First of all, I approach them as human beings, not somebody who has to be in the classroom producing and be
Mm,
and follow what the instructions are. And so I said, you have needs, you have emotions. If you don't look at your emotions, how can you manage a classroom? And the kids are getting more and more difficult now.
in what
So
way?
one of they don't pay much attention anymore. They're distracted.
Sure.
Fortunately, the ministry does not allow them to use their cell phones during the classroom time,
Yeah.
but they can talk with themselves. They're very distracted.
Yeah.
And I think the social media has contributed to that a great deal. They have
Yeah,
very short
for
attention.
yeah, I see that in children and also in adults, myself included.
Yes. They have a very short attention span. And very often they're not nice to each other. They use swear words. They hurt each other. They think they're entitled. There's a lot of entitlement.
Mm,
I think social media has contributed to narcissism. Like they push a
okay.
button and they get a like. They count how
Yeah.
many likes they got. So I said your role now is changing. Of course, there are a lot of teachers that are sensitive. They're not just teaching,
Okay.
but it needs a sort of rethinking about their role. They're not just there to teach. You cannot teach unless you work with the feelings. And one of the teachers told me that she also allowed to suspend the lesson for a while and focus on their feelings and needs. And this is
Yeah.
what they need.
Okay.
Acknowledge their emotions. One of them said, the kid said, Teacher, can we compose a poem
Mm,
in a song? They knew the music because they're grade six. They're grade six. And they said, we like to devote that to our main teacher. She's a German language teacher.
yes.
So she said, yes. What do I have to lose? I wouldn't listen to German anyway. And she was amazed how much they cooperate with each other.
Mm,
The kids who were least participate in the past, they were there.
okay.
They were all in one voice, and they were so happy they created this song for their teacher. They went back and gave it to her as a present. And so another teacher told me that she uses rhythm, the drum.
Mm,
As you
okay.
know, the drum has
Yeah.
some correspondence to the heart.
Yeah. It
So they
helps
use,
to ground people as well to have that rhythm.
and also we learn to give to tell the kids that they have good intentions when they misbehave. I even use it with another colleague of mine went to a secondary school.
Yes.
The teachers asked us to be there. Of course, we spoke with the teachers for 3 or 4 sessions, and then we got into the classroom, and they were between 15 and 22. They were adults.
Yeah.
And so if they went out, they said, Can I go out and smoke? And we said, Of course, you need a break. We understand that.
Mm,
So get a break is a need. You need that. And some of them will check their cell phone. And I said, I do that too. I feel
yes.
passive. So we gave it a good frame into their behavior.
Mm,
So we did that several times. And in the fourth time we went, the teachers told us, they're not against us anymore. You used to have in different camps and saw us as kind of
sure.
rivals.
Yeah.
And I was amazed how 3 sessions with those adult students work. So these are examples that they can do a lot with the kids, and it's very helpful.
So you were helping the teachers to see and understand the children's
Their
needs
behavior.
instead of judging them as they're being mean and naughty.
Exactly. And also acknowledge their needs. They get angry, they get frustrated. You teachers are human beings, you know. We listen to your feelings. Listen, you have good intentions. If you get angry at the students because you want them to listen and you care about their progress.
Sure.
So that was very satisfying. Very satisfying. It was my way of giving love.
Yeah, that's really important work. So if I'm a teacher and I feel angry with the what the student did, which triggered the anger in me, what do I do? Because I don't want to put the offload the anger onto the students, but I need to process that somehow.
Yeah. First of all, I will say to them that you may unload on the students, but there's
Really?
always a chance. No, no, wait a minute. It's always, you might, excuse me. No, wait, listen for a second.
Okay,
I
I'm
said
listening.
it might happen. It might happen. You feel impulsive about it. I said, the teacher, it's going to happen. Except there's always a way of apologizing and getting back and correcting. And you're an example of how things can be corrected. It's not a damage forever.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And the other thing is if you can slow down and check for a few seconds that if you're angry, it's because you care.
Mm,
And that helps calm down. And you can say to your students, I feel angry right now. I feel frustrated because I really like to help you. So they learn through examples how to connect with themselves and with each other.
mm,
So emotions is the glue,
mm.
and needs, of course, is the glue
Yeah.
between people and within a person.
You're really well versed and experienced in nonviolent communication as well as the internal family system. Can you say more about either both or each of them?
Yeah, they're very compatible.
Okay.
Nonviolent communication, I first learned about 12 years ago through a colleague. And at first, I follow the founder, Marshall Rosenberg, over
Mm,
YouTube. He has left a legacy behind him. I was in this Canada at the time, and I was in Canada actually again. I went back to Canada, and I wanted to meet him. I wanted to fly to the States and meet him, and they said no, you can't meet him because he's got cancer
mm,
and he's really sick. So that, and then learn, and then I register with Tom Bond, the compassion course that you
yes.
also have joined. And what I like about it is they encourage us to have empathy partners who
Mm.
cannot do it alone, and practicing with each other, as you know, is very helpful. Somebody else to ask us questions so we can listen to ourselves.
Yeah.
The internal and gave me a lot of freedom because as Rosenberg said, if you learn that language, it's very difficult to be subservient and say I got free liberated from shoulds. That's my freedom
Yeah.
from. And the internal family systems is developed by the family therapist Richard Schwartz.
Mm,
His method has been a very strong appeal to therapists all over the world, all over the world. What it does is, what it says is that we have different parts of ourselves. We're not just one
mm,
personality, we're different parts. And so if we listen to them, we can help ourselves not being taken over. And he also talking about self-leader. There's a part of us that's a leader, has a lot of
mm,
compassion and curiosity in common. So the other parts are the critic, the protector, the firefighter, which encourages addictions.
mm,
If you listen again, the good intention behind them, and it's not their intention the problem, it's the way they try to solve the problems is the problem. So you can have a conversation with them. There's a whole
mm.
process of that. You can find internal family systems in the YouTube. And also his book. And so, and I also bought some of his videos, how he works. And so these are two, they're very compatible, plus my Adlerian training and my family therapy training. And the neuralistic programming training. So
Wow.
I feel very fortunate of combining all these according to the whatever
Mm,
comes up, whatever the situation calls for.
yeah. I have two follow-up questions. One is if I'm new to internal family system, can I do it with myself or do I need to work with a therapist? And the other
Well,
is
yeah,
you mentioned you keep on learning, and I really admire that part about you being a lifetime learner. And I wonder where that motivation comes from and what do you enjoy
yeah,
about learning?
yeah. The first question, Richard Schwartz himself said you can do it on your own.
Okay.
He offers he has written several books.
Yeah.
He gives free material over YouTube. He offers therapists to the journalists and the interviews right on the spot, so he demonstrates his work. But some people need help.
Hmm.
I can do it. I'm a self-learner. I like to do it on my own. So I think it will cost me a lot of money to have a therapist, or would be nice. I cannot afford American fees. But I like actually my 2025 goal, not settling. As I don't set goals, I have in mind goal achievement. So my
Yeah,
goal achievement is to one thing, just work on myself with internal family systems and also with
really.
nonviolent. Yeah, non. I really want to be really good at it for myself.
Mm,
And of course, nonviolent communication is part of it. So compatible, I can use
yeah.
both. My
So are
niece
you saying you
gave,
want to cultivate more self-compassion in 2025?
yes. And I find internal family systems really helps me when I'm taken over by one part of me and
Yeah.
when I don't have self leadership. So at least I can recognize that. Right now, I'm really upset. I'm not self leading. And that
Mm,
helps me. I really appreciate that. I'm very grateful to Richard Schwartz for developing that method.
yeah.
And what else did you ask me? You asked me what.
Regarding being a lifelong learner, which is really inspiring.
I was raised in a small place, 3,000 people, and I felt very constricted, very constricted. And of course, school, I was good at school, but it was something, it was passive learning, a learner. So I could do anything to my disposal to
Mm,
learn. So the first thing I learned was through some newspapers. Sunday newspaper would sell records, English lessons.
yeah.
So I got my father to buy that, and
Okay.
so I learned English as I was growing up. And really I wanted to open my horizon. I thought this place was very constricted, very small, and I want to know what's going on in the world. So it's not that I decide to learn; it just comes out. I cannot help it. I can decide not to do anything, and I
Yeah.
can't do it. There's a strong part of me, and I am learning to sort of narrow down because I don't want to be sort of what do you call it, here and there. Sometimes I get frustrated and overwhelmed by being
Mm,
too open.
yeah.
So it's like morning. Out of 10 things that I want to learn, I concentrate on the four, and I'm learning to say goodbye to the other six because I want to focus on the other four, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's
Finding
something
the priority is important.
and I don't know why you admire me because I see you over the years. You learn this and you learn that. We exchange information about the fork tuning and the animal intuition and you don't need to admire me at all because
Well,
you're
as people get older, I see a lot of them choosing to do things like sitting in front of the TV and be a couch potato. I don't see that in you at all. You're choosing to constantly work on yourself and you are learning more knowledge and also applying them and also helping others using what you're learning to make a difference. And that's what I admire about you.
yeah. I'm gonna retire when I reach my grave.
I love it. Sounds silly, and I don't remember asking anyone else this, but I think you're open to it, so I'll just go ahead and ask. How do you want people to remember you?
I never thought of that. People they want to remember me. I
Yeah,
guess
because
what
we're talking about retiring when we're in our grave and no longer in this reality.
I asked my niece to put my books in the grave, the coffin. So
Mm,
somebody who loves books. I love books since I was a child. In fact, my mother was getting angry because I was not helping her with the house chores
okay.
because I was busy reading stories.
Yeah.
So it's something probably a love for learning I got from her, although she
Mm,
had fewer opportunities. I guess from my love for learning is something I want to remember for, and
mm.
also for loving to make other people's life better.
I can tell you right now, you've made my life so much better throughout the years. And I really, really appreciate that.
Oh, I think I'm also, I felt so trust in you, so it's not difficult to communicate with you, Audrey. And I admire your intuition for animals. It's beyond my imagination. I don't know animals. I love them from a distance. I would never have dogs and cats in my house, but I have sometimes in the dreams. So like dreaming of eagles.
Past few years, the animals have definitely led me to a different path. The wild wolves and the wild manta rays, they've been in their quiet ways, being very loud to convince me to work more with animals.
It's a totally new, different world for me. I don't know how to get in there to your world with your communicating with animals.
Well, in a way, learning more about animals have taught me to be more compassionate to human beings because
Yes.
it seems like Mother Nature and the animals have made a pact to be more compassionate to us. And I really appreciate that.
We're lucky. We're lucky,
Mm,
because we're not very nice to them.
sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes,
Mm,
yes.
yeah,
But
we're
still,
learning.
yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to share before we wrap up?
All I want to say that I'm going to the other book I'm going to write is for parents and with parents. Again, I'm going to ask them for stories. How I've already, especially parents who have small children.
Mm,
I found one father, usually fathers are reluctant to join. I don't know why. Mothers are very willing to talk about what it's like to raise their kids. Although they love the kids, one of the things that I learned from mothers, how they, especially with the small kids, they like to have space for themselves. The kids, they're very attached to them. And fortunately, some of them have grandparents and say, okay, yeah, you can stay away from me for a few. And I really appreciate how they live. One of them told them she doesn't have time for herself, and the only time she has, she needs some gymnastics. And she does all the chores outside the house, so she runs instead of walking. So that's her
mm,
time to herself. And I don't have children of my own, so but I appreciate the parents who give so much love while they have to sacrifice their own
mm,
needs. So I'm
yeah.
writing a book with them, and any of your audience would like to get in touch with me and tell me their stories, what it's like to be a parent. I like to give them voice. They have voice, but I like to give them
Sure.
space for their voice.
And how can people find you to share their stories or ask you about being a client because you
Oh,
provide different therapies?
yeah. One way is to reach me through LinkedIn.
Okay.
They'll find me there based on my name.
Okay. And I'll put a link in the show notes.
Another way is to look up my webpage called Learning Mind Heart
Okay.
uh, .gr, and that's where I talk a lot about emotional intelligence and how to work with
Mm,
the kids and the difference between praise and encouragement. Because praise I consider it sort of one up, although it's okay to praise the kids, but still it's one up. And encouragement is more egalitarian. So how we can be egalitarian with the kids and ourselves.
thank you so much, Magdalini. It's a pleasure talking with you.
I really appreciate your work, Audrey. How
Thank you. Thank you.
you offer love. You offer love.
I've never said this, but I want to express so much love and gratitude to you. Thank you.
I love you too. Take care.
Aloha.
Aloha. Bye bye.
Bye.